Why don't we go ahead and let the Signworld owners introduce themselves and.
Sure. Okay, so Jimtardif, you're first up. Tell us all about yourself, where you live, what you've been doing.
All right, so my shop is in Roswell, Georgia. We're a northern suburb of Atlanta. We opened in 2015. And I'm not sure exactly what kind of numbers you want us to share at this point, but we moved last summer to a bigger location, to our second location. With that move, we bought a CNC router and a panel saw to add to the printer plotter laminator that comes with signing up for Signworld. We did about $540,000 in revenue last year and growing tremendously again this year.
And what's your goal for this year, knowing that we're 3 months into it?
Yeah. We're about, our goal for this year is at our business plan 750.
Okay, great. Pete Jackson, tell everybody, what did you used to do, Jim?
What I used to do, I spent 30 years with General Electric.
Okay. Pete Jackson, tell us about yourself.
Hi, good morning. My name is Pete Jackson, and our business is Sign Distinction, and I'm in San Diego. We opened in 2011, so this is my 11th year. We expanded our facility. I'm looking down Sheree's list that she provided. We expanded our facility in about 3 years ago from 1,800 to, we took over the space next door. We are in about 3,600 square feet. I have fluctuated anywhere between 3 and 6 employees. I'd like to get back up to 6 now, but hiring is an issue these days. And I hope to be at 5 or 6 within the next few weeks. My projection for this year is $1.25 million. We did about 1.1 million last year. Our biggest customer or biggest project we recently completed, and this has kind of been the highlight of the last couple of years, larger customers with larger projects. And we rebranded a healthcare facility, well, a number of healthcare facilities for a provider in our area, 13 different locations, and the job was a $230,000 job. My background most recently to Signworld, I was working in a family business that we were a contractor for the oil companies, Shell, Arco, Chevron, building, maintaining service stations for them. Prior to that, and my biggest aid in this position, I have an expensive, not extensive, but I've got a sports background that I've still got a lot of contacts in college sports and some pro sports. So it's been kind of valuable. And I was also in commercial real estate for a period of time, which was also helpful with starting out in this business. That's my story.
Okay. Matt Stein. Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Matt Stein, the owner of Signscapes. We are located in Southfield, Michigan, which is a northern suburb of Detroit, just about 20 minutes north. We opened our doors here in March of 2020, so we are just now embarking on our 3rd year in business. I have about a 3,000 square foot facility. Just hired my 3rd employee into the business. Our 2022 sales projection, right now we're on track to do about 750,000 this year, mostly with my biggest customer to date, who is actually a parking garage in downtown Detroit that we've done. So far, we've invoiced about 100,000, and there's plenty more to come. Prior to the sign industry, I come out of the telecom world. I used to build mobile app stores for Home Pilots and Blackberries and all that kind of stuff. So.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Yep. And Jack Warner, tell us about your story.
I joined Signworld in 1995, the last century, as a Signworld operation. I started in 1,100 square feet with 1 employee, ended up in 5,000 square feet with a staff of 11. doing 1.3 million in sales in the days before the internet. Back then, we were more of a banner shop, dealing more retail and really not going after regional and national customers we have. So we really evolved a lot of different ways. I then joined Signworld at the corporate office and kind of a partnership arrangement with Ken to learn his end of the business, finished buying him out in 2014, 8 years ago, and took over as president owner of Signworld. When I answer questions today, if it goes to my experience running an operation, I'll speak from that perspective. If it goes more from training and from corporate policy, I'll speak from that perspective. So based on the question, my answers might be coming one side or the other.
Okay, thank you, Jack. All right.
And introduce
Pardon me?
Introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Ken Kent, the founder of Signworld 34 years ago. I started in Honolulu, Hawaii with the first location. My first customer and ultimately my largest customer was Bank of Hawaii. People ask me all the time, why did I go into this business? And there were a couple of reasons, but the number one reason is very few employees, very few customers in relationship to the amount of money that you can make. So, for example, our benchmark is that if you want to make $200,000 like you used to make in corporate America, you only need to have 4 employees. 4 employees. That's unheard of anywhere else. So, for example, run the string out for you. Let's fast forward to when you're ready to retire and you want to sell your business. Let's pick a number, $2 million, $2 million. Well, here's what a $2 million Signworld looks like. It's 1 building. It's 14 employees. It's 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. It's probably in any given year, you'll never really take care of much more than 150 people. Now, I didn't say projects, I said people. And your customer base will grow as you grow. But look at a $2 million franchise that you may be looking at. And especially if it's in the service industry. More than likely, you're not looking at 14 employees. You're looking at over 100 employees, over 100. It probably won't be 1 building. It'll be maybe 4 buildings in 4 different parts of town. Your office, your working hours will be 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, with most of your business coming in on the weekends. So the question you want to ask yourself, do you really want to go through that in this last chapter of your life? For you to end up with 100 employees, between now and then, you'll have to hire 400 people, 400. You'll spend most of your life in the recruiting and the training mode. Is that you? Is that your DNA? Do you come from that background where you've had 100 people working for you or more? So you want to look at the exit strategy very critically before you dive into whatever it is you might choose to do. The other thing I liked was it's clean and neat and it's manufacturing. You're making a tangible product. And on that product, you're going to put your name, whatever you call your company. And when you drive home at night, you're going to see your work hanging all over town. And that means a lot to a lot of people. Okay, let's open it up for questions. So Keith, you're going to be first up. So everybody, here's your chance. Here's your chance. Whatever is your greatest concern, whatever is your greatest fear, turn that into a simple open-ended question. Keith, come off you. Give us a question.
Appreciate that. Just off bat, I think someone touched on it earlier. What are some things or some tactics you're leveraging to route around the labor shortage issue right now? And what are some things you're doing to get people in the door in this competitive market when labor is tight?
Okay, Jimtardif, what's your edge in getting people?
I've hired 1 person this year, and I used my employees to get referrals to help me find the right person. And we were very fortunate to find that person and bring them on board. So I did not run into any problems using that.
Pete Jackson, how are you going to jump from 3 to 6 here?
That's a good question. I've tried in the past. I mean, I have three guys. The three guys right now have been with me for 9, 8, and 3 years. And one lesson I've learned is the be slow to hire and quick to fire lesson. And so I'm taking my time, making sure I can get somebody that fits with our team, which kind of makes the process a little bit longer for me. But I've used Indeed and ZipRecruiter, Craigslist, to find applicants, and what seems to happen, they tend to fall out of the sky right when I'm looking for somebody. I know that's not very encouraging, but it's the truth. Right now, I've had some ads out, and the pickings are slim right now. Well, that said, Signworld and the owners in the area now and in the past have been the most help with either finding replacements and or fill-ins during this short period of time. So I'm taking my time right now to get a couple of new guys that I know could fit with our team, because the importance of having a team and good guys on board. So I mean, during this period of time, that's my answer. Relying on these other Signworld owners and connections.
Matt Stein, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think two things. We haven't really struggled in terms of hiring new employees. Much like Pete said, we've used Indeed, we've used ZipRecruiter, we put ads out there, and we get good results from that. I think the other solution that we have is we've built a fairly robust network in our local market of contractors, of third parties that we can rely on to help get work done. So despite labor shortages, and for us it's gotten a lot better in the last year, but we have a healthy network of suppliers and vendors that we can rely on to help us get our work pushed through.
Okay, Jack, you have any thoughts?
Couple things. One, you're not looking for lots of employees, you're looking for a few. It's a career, not a job. Once a sign maker, always a sign maker. We're going to give you a lot of help in finding the initial one. You'll do the interviews to make sure for culture. We'll do the interviews for talent. Other Signworld owners will help you interview. Sign makers are going to come to work for you for one of several reasons. They're the number 2, 3, or 4 guy where they currently work. There's a ceiling, they want to move up. They're working on old equipment, they want to work on latest and greatest, and you have that. More than anything, they're looking for a happy home. The boss will appreciate them, the boss that won't yell at them in front of others, the boss will let them off for that important recital at school, the boss give them a raise without begging. So it's a pretty reliable employee base. And then as they said, having other Signworld owners help. We've got a new service working with us, several former Signworld owners that have built a design service so that you can have outside design work done, so you can have more production people there and have the design work done offsite. So a lot of different remedies to solve it.
And I'll add my 2 cents worth that I go along with Jimtardif. Reach out and touch someone. Don't wait for somebody to apply for a job with you. Use your network, become your own headhunter, your own executive recruiter. Think outside the box. Go touch somebody and say, hey, if you're ever thinking about changing jobs, I'd like to talk to you about an opportunity. And amaze you what you might find out there. Okay, Tanya, come off of mute. And we have both Tanya and Jim Hudson together. So we'll let each one of you ask a question. Tanya, you want to go first?
Sure. Thank you very much. So can each of you, I know that you can't go into a lot of detail, but can you just kind of walk us through your first days, your first week, and your first month after you opened? And what were your biggest hurdles, challenges, and surprises?
Okay. Jimtardif?
Sure. So, a lot of us come from different backgrounds, right? So we have different challenges in that respect. I came from a sales background, 30 years with General Electric. So as soon as I made the decision that we were going to move forward with the Signworld offer, I started selling. I started reaching out to my personal network with the help of Signworld, as Jack was just saying. I was able to hire somebody with experience in the sign industry. I picked his brain. I always say the only thing I knew about signs when I started out was I had to stop at a stop sign. So Kevin, my designer, had years of experience. He told me right out of the gate, people are going to ask you a lot of questions you don't know the answer to. Just say yes and bring it back and we'll figure out how to do it. So I started selling to my own personal network. I got involved in all of the big networking opportunities locally to start spreading the word, building the brand, and it's taken off from there. So I do the Chamber of Commerce, I do the local business associations, and I'm very involved in all of that.
Pete Jackson?
Yeah, the first day and the first week. Talk about fake it till you can make it or whatever it is. Everybody's got different stories on how they got in this business and their situation. And personally, I was coming out of a business that during the recession in 2008, and things were going south, and our personal finances were going south. And I borrowed to get into this business, so I was in panic mode. And I immediately relied on my old contacts and some of the things that were recommended to me by friends such as Rotary and other business associations. But my first business came from, I was in commercial real estate at one time, and I went back to a couple guys who were then co-workers that had started their own brokerage businesses. A couple of them were kind enough to go with me right away and still are good clients today. And one of the benefits about going to that particular group is their connection with developers, and these are retail and office brokers. So, they've got the connections to possibly refer you to others. I leaned on some of my background. I talk about not knowing anything. Within 3 months, I had a nationally televised basketball game on an aircraft carrier, and the night before, I had to go up and demonstrate how our banners were going to fit on a bicycle rack. And honest to God, it was the first time I ever touched a zip tie. And I had to fake it to put this banner on a bicycle barricade around the court. And I won't even go into the details of all, but the fake worked, and little things tend to just kind of become like a spider web and grow. The challenge from the start was getting the right employee. Initially, I didn't have the right employee. I was referred another one by a Signworld owner here in San Diego, and that guy got me over the hump. That whole event, that was a big thing for us. I was just the salesman and the mouthpiece, and 2 different Signworld guys helped me through it. So I don't know if that answers all the question, but that's my story.
Okay. Matt Stein, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think 2 main challenges we faced. And we launched the business in March of 2020, which, up here in Michigan, everything shut down. So it was like a ghost town around here for about 2 months. I think my biggest concerns or biggest things to get over were revenue, being a brand new business, and getting up the learning curve of the sign industry. The fake it till you make it, that was part of it, but I have some really helpful Signworld owners in my local market. I connected with some other owners of non-Signworld businesses that were extremely helpful in just helping me get up that curve. And, at the end of the day, I found it's not that complicated, at least the type of work we're doing. I tend to overcomplicate things. And if you can just kind of simplify a project down to the basics, it's not that hard to learn. The revenue side, March 2020 was a very quiet month. It was nice because it enabled us to kind of get some systems and processes in place that we've optimized over time. But, to solve the revenue challenges in our market, there's a lot of sign companies, but having a decent website, it's amazing to me still that just having a decent online presence doesn't even have to be stellar. You get business, people call you on the phone, and you have opportunities to convert. Between that and obviously networking was a little bit tough in 2020. I did join a BNI group and we did the virtual networking. And I have some family history with commercial real estate in Detroit. So between leveraging my own network and doing some networking, I was able to get the revenue going and kind of quell both of those fears.
Jack Warner, your thoughts?
Starting any new business, there's a learning curve, learning who are the customers, what are the projects, how do we build processes? But it all evolves. We've got 34 years of history. 34 years of history and hundreds of locations that have done it. Nobody joining Signworld had a previous sign history or background. So it's doable, and that's following the plan, leaning on the other Signworld owners around you to understand those things, building relationships with people, and then over time, nurturing the relationships.
Okay. Michael Gainsler, go ahead, Michael, come off of mute.
Well, very good. I want to circle back to the labor shortage. The hourly pay, what kind of pay do you, are these CNC operators or programmers, or what kind of specification or education do they need?
Okay. Pete Jackson, Pete, you're low and you're high, even when you had 6 employees, low and high.
From the start a few years back, the minimum that we were paying to get people in were like $15 up to 20, 21, for my main men. And now we're having to start around 20 and go up anywhere up to 30. And I might be hiring a guy at 35 this week. I don't,
Okay.
But he's very qualified, a lot of experience, and somebody I need. I've spoken to other Signworld, and this is San Diego. It's different around the country, obviously. But it appears that that's the range that, anywhere from 18 to 30, depending on their qualifications and how much experience they have.
Jimtardif, low and you're high.
So my high is about 28 to 30 right now. My low, my brand new employee who is just production right now started at 13.
Okay, day one, first guy in the door, day one, how much?
18.
And back to you, Pete Jackson, first guy in the door, day one, how much?
I think we were at 15.
Okay, Matt Stein, high, low, first guy in the door?
Yep, first guy in the door, 25 years in the biz, very skilled, 22 an hour. Right now, we're at a range of between 15 and 20.
Okay, Jack?
You're going to find you're probably in the low $20 an hour range. Some a little bit less, some a little bit more, probably in the, call it 22 as a national average, but not expecting benefits. This isn't a benefits heavy industry. So while you'll add benefits over time to retain, you don't need to add them to acquire, because where they're currently working at that independent sign company down the street, they were lucky if they had vacation days or had holiday pay.
Okay. John Shea, John, come off of mute. Throw a question at us.
Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. Still morning here. I'm in California. So I'm John Shea. Nice to see you all. Nice to hear some voices and some faces. I'm curious about since I'm in the very beginning, or could be, I'm investigating this, working with Jack. And I might have missed it at the very beginning because I was a little tardy. I had a little computer problem. But what was the biggest challenge in the very beginning?
Okay. Yes, we did cover that
a little bit. Is that okay?
We covered that, but we'll go over it real quick. Jimtardif, short and sweet, biggest challenge.
The biggest challenge was just getting to know all of the local vendors and rolling out the website.
Okay. Pete Jackson, biggest challenge in the beginning, real quick.
Yeah, just realizing how much there is to learn. There's so many different types of signs, and a lot of knowledge goes in behind it. I think that's it.
Matt Stein?
Yeah, revenue and process.
Okay. Jack Warner?
As they said, there's a lot of different things. It's learning the product line, learning who the customers are, building processes, but it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so you just work towards it, taking on little customers in the beginning and working into bigger and deeper, more elaborate products later on.
All right. Jan Dayerman, come off mute. Throw a question at us, Sean. Are you there, Jan? You need to come off of mute. Three dots up in the top right-hand corner, click on there. Or the mute button at the bottom of the screen.
And Michael's had his hand up. Let go to him and see if Jan has a chance to get it.
I think Michael's had his hand up. It's been up the whole time. Jan,
Yes.
if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yes, we hear you now. Go ahead.
I
Jan.
was on the phone with the other guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have any specific questions right now. I'm just
Okay.
moved into the
Well,
meeting here as a more or less like an accident. Any experiences with a I'd say co-brand organization, or I do have a operation that is it's a manufacturing business. It's a business that makes markings on technical products. So we do mark like aircraft turbines, we do mark gun parts, we do mark knives, we do mark all kinds of whatever you can possibly think of. Everything that goes into like a Boeing airplane and aircraft fighting, it goes into space, everything is marked. And many of these parts go through our facility. Any kind of experiences with terms of cross-selling or co-branding, selling signs to somebody that is already your manufacturing customer?
And or old contacts. Jimtardif?
I'm just trying to think of what I can relate to the group in that respect. Probably the closest thing I have is a year into our ownership, we bought out another Signworld owner who was retiring. And we had a strategy to maintain two brands for a given period of time while we merged it all together. The only thing I can think of that would be relatable to that question.
All right.
Okay.
But you didn't have another business when you started. So Jan already has another business with customers. So you didn't have that. Pete
Yes.
Jackson, any thoughts?
I'm drawing blanks on that. I don't have any experience in it and not doing anything with that sort of thing.
It's also
Well,
might come,
Well,
might also come with
say
some
this.
challenges in terms like that we already have like in the CRM system in place. It has like 3,500 active buying customers. We have like the whole accounting system and everything. All of a sudden we would run in two funnels here. That's a little bit of my concern. I mean, it seems to be like a luxury problem, but at the end of the day, it's a challenge that I see coming up. So I thought maybe there's some experience there.
Well, let's let them finish. Matt Stein, any thoughts?
No real specific experience in that. I mean, I will say my personal network, my personal contacts contributed significantly early on, to revenue and to sales. There is another owner who's in one of my groups that does run a separate business in conjunction with the sign business. He has like an RV dealership, and he's doing pretty well.
And cross customer
speculation. Yeah.
Okay, Jack, your thoughts?
I was going to mention the same man that Matt was, that he not only has a customer base that he can make products for, but he has contacts from that. Not only do your customers need signs, but their facilities where they operate need signs. So it's a collaborative customer base that can be selling the products.
Jan, we teach sales and marketing every week. First thing we teach you is go back to everybody you know. Go back to everybody you know. They already trust you. People do business with people who they trust. They already trust you. It's a natural for you to do their signs as well.
I do have a side story that may be irrelevant. If
Go ahead, Pete.
So we bought a used router from a guy that was going out of business, and literally within a week of installing it, one of our neighboring people in the office park walked by and said, "Hey, can you cut this material we had?" And as it turned out, they make screening, the scan stands similar to what's in an airport, only at a prison. And they wanted us to cut panels where the guys could come up and stand on. It's basically a wood panel that we paint and put footprints on. People stand. We've been doing that for 2 years for him now. It paid for the router. And it's not a co-brand, but it's something that just happened by somebody walking by. It's completely out of the sign business, but it's having that equipment just as a new outlet for us.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Riken, are you there? Riken, come off of mute. Hello, Riken. All right, Michael, or I'm sorry, Keith. Keith, back to you. Keith Mensa.
And you never got to Michael. Michael's been waiting since the beginning.
Michael already had a chance to ask the question. I think his hand has been up the whole
Oh, you
time.
did wait. You're right. You're right. I'm sorry.
Okay. Keith?
Yeah, another question I have is, do any of you have a niche focus when it comes to sign making? And if so, how did you come about that niche?
Okay. Pete Jackson, you got a niche?
Not now, we do a little bit of everything, but in the beginning, my niche was going to commercial real estate people that I knew. And we did a lot of post and panel signs for lease signs for retail shopping centers. Some signage that we got came from tenants that were moving into those centers that saw that we were doing it, or we were referred to by the broker leasing the site. So in the beginning it was that, and then it has expanded into so much more.
Including US Navy aircraft carriers. Okay. Jimtardif, you have a niche? A niche?
Probably the best way for me to describe it, when I do all the networking that I do, I tell people that I look at us as a project management house that happens to work in the sign industry. So we're in a light industrial location, and we're not out on a main street looking for walk-in business. So we really have a B2B focus in large project opportunities. So that keeps, I say we're not really in the banner business. We're not looking to do graduation banners, although we do some of that stuff. When it comes to us, it's not the type of business we go out looking for. When it breaks down to the types of signs we do a lot of channel letters, we do a lot of vehicle graphics for fleets, we do ground signs. We actually get referrals from some of the franchises that don't do brick and mortar. And so we can do ground signs. So it doesn't really cut into the types of signs we do. It's more focused on the types of customers we're going after.
And would you say you're focused on bigger customers and bigger projects?
That's right.
Okay. Matt Stein, your niche?
Yeah, I was going to say that similar to what Jim said, we really don't have a product niche yet, more so a customer niche. So we've had a lot of success with two types of customers: multifamily residential, property managers and developers, as well as manufactured home communities. So along those lines, tons and tons of street signs, stop signs, entrance signs, all post and panel type stuff. If I had to say a product niche, that would probably be it.
Jack Werner, your niche over time?
Let me answer a little bit differently. Unlike a franchise where the niche is pre-picked for the customers and the product, and hope you like it, hope you made a good choice, we're recommending that you start off a little bit as a generalist and allow the niche to come to you over a couple of years to figure out if it's by the type of customer, by the type of product, by the type of employees you have and what fits them best. If you got employees that are great on vehicle reps, go for it. If they're not good on vehicle reps, take it on, but don't chase after it. Coming out of the restaurant world, most of my customers are restaurant chains and retail chains. I could speak their language. So I just allowed my former career to dictate the types of customers that I wanted to take on.
If we were to survey all 350 some Signworld owners today, I think most would say that they're generalists. They'll take on almost any project that looks like fun and that they could make a good profit on.
How difficult is it to get into like national accounts? Is that something that just happens, or?
Okay, we'll get back to that. Let's stay in order here, Jan, and we'll answer that one when it's back to you.
Sorry for that.
Okay, Tanya, you want to come off of mute?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Great. This is a simple question, but when did you start turning a profit? In which month, if you can remember?
Okay. Pete Jackson, how many months were you in business before you broke even cash on cash?
I think we're at 6 months.
Okay, Jimtardif, how many months in business before you broke even cash on cash?
And right about the same as Pete, right around 6 months.
Matt Stein, during COVID,
Yeah, we were at about 8 months.
8 months. And Jack Werner?
I was honestly profitable my first month.
Okay. Does Jim Hudson have a question? Jim?
Yes, I noticed some of you said that you had to take out a loan to start this business. We're not going to do that. We're going to come in with a, I want to go cash positive as fast as I can in this business. So when you hired your first employee and you got through all of the nuances with all the support that Signworld has given you, what was one of the things that came up to you that you wish you would have known beforehand? You know what I mean? Is there something that sticks out in your mind that a new prospect like us would come up and say, damn, I wish I'd have known that before, maybe I can give that information to the other people that are coming into the business? What is that one thing that glares at you like a flame? Because everybody has one. I just, just something that I'm sure all of you have a different flame or something that you wish you'd have known beforehand.
Okay, Pete Jackson, what did you wish you knew beforehand?
Well,
Damn,
I think you all prepared us pretty well for what was going to happen in the beginning. So it's not a matter of what we wished we would have known beforehand. It's a matter of learning all that was put out in front of us. And the key to overcoming that is hiring somebody up front with some experience and can help guide you through. I mean, you get a lot of basics in the training, and I knew nothing about signs. And so I don't think I could say there was something I wish I would have known beforehand, but as I mentioned, I think it just takes time to learn all that there is to learn.
Okay. Jimtardif, what did you wish you knew beforehand?
I would say the importance of my website, a good website. I think, excuse me, I think Matt commented on that earlier, but just how vital that is and what a resource a well-done website is. The other thing that I learned over time was the importance of local relationships. So I have, over the last 7 years, brought a lot of the business that I do into my local community. We're a local business shop. We depend on our local communities for support. And it became very important to me to reciprocate and do as much as I could do locally.
Matt Stein, what did you wish you knew before in the beginning?
Yeah, no, there wasn't a whole lot that I wish I would have known. I guess I would answer that refining the processes and just building the team was kind of the biggest issue up front. Like we thought we knew what we wanted to do, and then we get all these people in house and orders start flowing through, and you just kind of start to fail forward and tweak your process as you go.
Okay.
So you don't really know until you kind of get your feet on the ground in that regard.
Jack, what did you wish you knew in the beginning?
In today's world, we're so enamored with instant results. And so it's not just having the website, getting that up, but it's then enhancing it so that it becomes a big driver of the business. And writing blog articles and posting pictures, you get results later, but it's so vital to put that energy into it for the long-term health of the business. So it's not just having the pretty website. Google doesn't care about that. Google cares about the content you have in there and how you're enhancing it and improving it. So it's putting the effort into that for the long-term process.
Okay. Michael, you're up. Michael, come off of mute.
You mean me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was one thing that I wanted to know was are the people operators or programmers? What's the distinction between them? And I have a second question.
Well, let's do the one. Let's just do the one. So your question is your first sign maker?
Yeah.
Are they operators or are they what? Programmers? Okay. First and foremost, they're sign makers or production employees. They can put the whole thing together, deliver it, and install it. Secondly, they're design people that have experience working on the computer and importing customers' artwork and refining it and so forth. Pete Jackson, who are you looking for when you look for your first employee? What are you looking for? A programmer? or,
It's somebody that's had some experience in both sign and design, in production and designing. And importantly, on the design side is that they are familiar with sign design as opposed to just a graphic designer out there. There's a lot of graphic design people and they'll all apply to your job. But the key in that regard is to have, especially the first one, unless you know signs and designing signs, the first employee is invaluable to make sure that they have not only some sign design experience, but are familiar with making signs.
okay, Jimtardif?
I think Pete hit on a really important note there, the difference between sign design and graphic design, the subset inside graphic design. My first employee had tremendous experience in sign design. He had experience in production, not so much as in installation, but we could do it. But he also was well connected in the Atlanta sign market, right? So he could help me find installers. He could help me find vendors to do the various things that we needed to do to help get our job done.
And Stein?
Yeah, my criteria for the first employee was obviously experience was key, since I didn't have much of it, and then to be able to design and produce the product, and that's exactly what we found. We didn't have any fancy equipment beyond the standard package. We didn't have a router or anything like that to start off with, so I really didn't have a need for a programmer, so to speak. Unfortunately, my guy did have that experience, because I'm assuming many do, but for me, it was just somebody who knew how to print and how to make products.
Okay, Jack?
A journeyman with 5, 10, 15 years of experience. They can design it, print it, assemble it, install it.
John Shea, come off of mute. John, you're up.
Thank you, Ken. I'm curious, gentlemen, what was your average order size in the beginning and what is it today? And how many orders do you have in the beginning and how many orders per month do you have today?
Okay, Pete Jackson, average order size.
In the beginning, I'd say $400 or $500, $300 to $400. But what you'll find is you'll sneak in that one big job that kind of bumps up your average. I interestingly enough, they give you these projections where you should be at 6 months to a year out. At least they did back in the day, and I was struggling along thinking, how am I ever going to get that? And lo and behold, this one job comes up, and this event I did. And at 6 months, I was right at that 6-month mark that it was projected by Signworld. At the end of the year, I was above that. Back then, I can't remember how many signs we did in the first year, but I know now we're averaging about 1,000 or more signs. I think we did maybe 1,200 last year, and don't do the math on this, but I know that our average was up around $1,100, $1,200 per sign.
Okay, Jimtardif, what's your average order in the beginning? What's your average order today?
I would have to estimate in the beginning it was a couple $100. We were out asking for everything we could think of. We ended up getting a lot of banners initially, yard signs, that sort of thing. At the beginning of COVID, we were at about $1,300 average. At 2020, we dropped down to about $1,100. In 2021, that was a focus part of our business plan. So right now we're at about 2,000 average.
Okay. Matt Stein, average order in the beginning, average order today.
Yeah, average order first year, we were around 800 per order. Last year, that crept up to about $1,500 per order. And so far this year, our average order value is about 2,200.
Okay, Jack?
To continue on that, Pete, how many products do you have in work in progress? How far ahead are you booked out so that your staff is busy every hour of every day? They're not sitting waiting for a job to do. There's plenty in the queue at all times. Is that correct?
Yes. I was going to look up the number, but I mean, I think we have over 100 jobs in the queue right now, at least.
What's that in dollars? How many dollars work in process?
Give me a minute. Go to Jim and I'll be right back.
Okay, Jimtardif, work in process. How much in dollars?
I could go back to the reports and get the number. It's about 60 right now. I think that
$60,000. Okay. Matt Stein, work in process. How much?
I've got 120,000 in WIP.
Okay, and whip. Pete, throw a number out.
We've got a couple big jobs going on, so I would say we've got about close to 300,000 in work in process right here.
Jack, in your zenith of your business?
I was probably at about 120,000 at any given time. Because the idea with that is your staff isn't coming in and saying, do I have something to do today? You're a profit center every hour of every day if you stay ahead of it.
Okay. Jan, come off of mute. Your turn.
Yeah, you want to go back to the question with the
Sure.
with the access to national accounts? Is that something that just falls on your desk, or is that something you go proactively after?
All right. So Pete Jackson, tell us about some big brand name companies that we would all recognize that you work with. Besides the U.S. Navy.
Big brand names. Well, I mean, these aren't ongoing, man. We've done a number of jobs for Fox Sports. That has led to a job we probably will have in the fall with ESPN. But as far as national brands, we haven't done a lot of national brands. We've done signs for a company that has a national presence. You would never know them. We ended up doing something like 36 lobby signs that we manufactured here and sent out to other Signworld companies, Signworld businesses around the country to install for us.
Okay. Do you take care of any per se, quote, national accounts where you take care of the entire company and all of their facilities?
No.
Well, okay. Jimtardif, do you have any national accounts where you take care of the entire company?
no, I don't have any national accounts like that.
Okay. How about big brand name accounts that we would know?
Kimberly-Clark, we redid their entire campus here, all the ground signs. General Motors, we do work for General Motors. Benjamin Moore Paints. So those are some of the more recognizable brands.
Matt Stein, do you have any national accounts where you take care of the entire company and all their facilities?
We do, but you wouldn't recognize the brands. They're owners of manufactured home communities. We did pick up just a lead from the website in month 4. FedEx contacted us for a big monument sign they needed for a ground facility over here in Oak Park.
Any other national brand names?
Other than franchises, no.
Okay. Jack?
I took care of Dave & Buster's worldwide, making game graphics for the games. Barbecues Galore retail chain on a nationwide basis, 3-day blinds on a nationwide basis, Z Pizza on a nationwide basis, Subway on a regional basis, Waste Management on a regional basis, Pepsi on a regional basis.
I took care of Bank of Hawaii on a worldwide basis, and it would amaze you, just like when you think about Bank of America, all the different countries that Bank of Hawaii has a presence in, as well as in the United States and islands all over. So we do have Signworld owners who have national accounts, take care of the entire company nationwide and so forth.
So Ken,
Okay,
did you
back
go
to-
tour their bank and ask about the business, or did it just fall into your chest?
Yes.
Did they come to you and ask for it?
No, they didn't come to me and ask. I met, I was sitting in an office doing my home mortgage, and the guy in the next office was in the commercial real estate side of the bank, and he overheard me, and he came in and asked if I could make a sign for him, and I did. And then I just asked him to keep referring me to other people in the bank. And I had all kinds of customers in the bank. I had customers at headquarters, I had branch customers, I had fleet vehicle customers, all different kinds of people in the bank that had the responsibility. So it was a number of people, not just one. It took time. It didn't happen overnight. Okay, back to Keith, you have another question?
Yeah, this might be a dumb question, so forgive me in advance, but is there a customer type to avoid? Or
Sure, all kinds. Pete Jackson,
Well,
what kind of
we've
customer
met-
do you want to avoid?
Yeah, we residential real estate people, nail salons.
Okay. Jimtardif, customers to avoid.
Again, I'm going to agree with Pete, residential realtors. They want yard signs and they don't want to pay you anything for them.
All right. Matt Stein,
Yeah, residential realtors, nail salons, and personal vehicle rents.
okay. Jack Werner,
That's a good list. That's a good list.
I'll add wedding planners.
Oh, and anybody that calls and says, I need a sign, you recommend, how much is it going to cost?
Tanya, come on from you, Tanya, you're up.
Yep, great. Okay, so this is going to seem like a strange question, but on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being a business that's completely at the mercy of economic up and downturns, 10 completely resilient to up and downturns in the economy, how would you rate Signworld?
Rate Signworld as an organization or rate their individual business?
Individual businesses.
Okay, Pete Jackson, what are you?
Well, I'd have to use that COVID pandemic as an example and say we'd be a 9 or a 10 because we had business ongoing and continued. I didn't really see a big blip other than,
Okay.
yeah, I'll leave it at that. But
Jimtardif, what are you?
I would say we are on the upper end of that scale. You know, I did have to furlough my team for 7 weeks, but other than that, coming out of COVID, we've been growing faster than we were going into COVID. So there's,
Okay, Matt Stein.
whether you're building things or taking them down, there's opportunities.
Matt?
Yeah, we're a 9 or a 10 for sure. We saw very little, obviously being a new business, not a lot of historical data, but very little downturn in COVID. In fact, our market sort of exploded and different products came into the mix, you know, acrylic sneeze guards and face shields, all this other stuff that with our equipment and supplies, we could just pivot and turn into opportunities.
Jack, you've been through 2 major events. One, the bank collapse of 08-09 and COVID. Your reaction?
3 with 9/11. After
Oh,
9/11,
3, I'm sorry, 9/11, yes.
after 9/11, we were making God Bless America signs by the thousands, working 18-hour days. In 08, the people that got hurt there were the ones that were very heavy with home builders. In COVID, the ones that got hurt were people that were heavy with office buildings that had to shut down. Although we've got a lot of Signworld owners that rebranded office buildings, that have rebranded hotels during that time. So they use that as, those companies use that time as a, so I'd say we're an 8, 9. And one of the reasons why you want to be a little bit diverse in your customer base, not be so totally into one niche, is that you're a little bit more versatile and you're not stuck in any one area.
Jim Hudson. Jim, do you have a question?
No, I'm good. Those were perfect questions for the answers that we needed. That's great. Let me ask you one little quick question. You talked about you had to furlough your employees, you know. Did those employees come back to you? And if so, was there any compensation at all for them because of that 7-week furlough? Because, you know, those things happen. I understand that. But
Jim?
Yeah, everybody came back with the exception of one that happened to be the one that I would have hoped didn't come back, and we replaced them with a higher quality person. But as far as compensation, you know, the government took care of that. The government stepped up and paid.
They were paid.
What I was paying when they were there.
Pete Jackson, did you have to furlough anybody?
no, we didn't. We went to 3-day weeks for about 3 or 4 weeks. And at the end of it, I mean, by about that time we had enough work and we saw that things were okay. And we had some construction jobs going on. And so we considered ourselves, what was the term?
Essential.
Essential.
All right. Matt Stein, did you have to furlough anybody?
I did not.
Okay. And Jack?
You know, the ones that did, I think Jim was probably on the long end of it. The normal was a couple of weeks where they cut back, but most were deemed essential businesses quite quickly and up to making the COVID signs and the other things. We had to pivot on the customer base a bit, but still a lot of work.
Okay. Michael Gainsler, you're up.
I put in a question in the chat. Who does the larger outdoor installations? I mean, they looked very complex. I looked at the videos. I was like, Jesus Christ, I have my fear of height. I would never go up there.
Okay. So in the beginning, you'll subcontract that out. The other Signworld owners in your area will tell you who those people are. Very reliable, well vetted, good prices, and so forth. As time goes on, you may choose to buy your own truck. Pete Jackson, you have a truck?
We have a truck. We've had a truck from the start. It came from our other business, but it's not a boom lift. We rent booms and things like that for higher elevations. I don't know if that's what he's referring to, but
yeah, but you subcontract major installations.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And you have reliable installers.
I was referred a guy from the start, and he still does all my electrical and higher.
Okay. Jimtardif, do you have a truck?
I do not have a truck. We outsource our installations. I've got 2 people with bucket trucks, one of those with cranes, and then another guy that does most of my ground type installations.
Reliable installers.
Very, very reliable, high quality guys.
Matt Stein, you have your own truck?
We do not have our own truck yet. I don't have the right licenses yet to install in Michigan. So I have two main installers that we use, one for electrical, one for non-electrical, and then a couple of backups in each department.
Okay. And Jack?
Nobody starts with a bucket truck. Over time, we have about 50 out of 350 that have their own bucket truck. Many others might do it in the future. Many others never will. Realize when you look at these pictures of these big complicated signs, they look great in glowing of what we do, but most signs are stepladder level lower. So the great majority of the work is much more doable from your own staff as opposed to having outsourced.
Okay, we're running out of time. We got time for another 2 questions, John Shea and Jan Derriman. So John, go.
I was going to ask about the PPP stuff, but Jim kind of touched on that, so I'm going to skip that one. I am also curious, how's the workers' comp rates in the industry? And do you guys experience a lot of injuries with your employees, falls off of ladders, et cetera, et cetera?
Okay. All right, Pete Jackson, how long you been in business again?
11 years.
Have you ever had a workers' comp claim?
One. It was totally fraudulent.
Fraudulent.
Pardon me?
It was fraudulent.
Yes, and it took a year or 2 to resolve. The guy, it was just, that's where I learned my be quick to fire lesson. This guy, I had a review with the guy in the morning, which gave him probably every indication that I was about to let him go. He went to pick up some material for us from a job in the afternoon, came back and said, "Hey, I got a little fender bender. No big deal." Went outside, not a scratch on the truck. The next morning he called in and said, "Hey, my back feels like I got hit by a truck. I'm not coming in." And the next thing I was hearing from was an attorney. But in terms of legitimate injuries, we've had none.
All right. Jimtardif, how many years in business again?
7, no injuries.
And no workers' comp claims.
Correct.
Matt Stein?
Yeah, just starting year 3, no injuries, no workers' comp.
And Jack, 10 years in business?
Years, I had one minor one. Again, it's knowing your limits of what you want your people to do, making sure they're trained. We don't have a lot of injuries. Have there been a few? Sure, but not of consequence.
Okay, I lost my place. Who's up next? Is it John Shea or Jan? Jan?
Yeah.
Jan, come on.
Yeah, I'm
Go
around.
ahead, Jan.
I'm around. Who's taking care of the permitting process? Is that the Signworld business partner, or is it the customer? Or
Pete
depends on
Jackson?
how much they're willing to pay?
Pete, do you do permits?
Yes, I do. And I think for the most part, you need a contractor's license in a lot of cities to get that. I do have one. And if you don't have one, there are people that can get them for you, but I handle the permitting.
And you do charge for those,
Yes, we do.
and you make a profit on that.
Yeah.
It's a profit center. Okay. Jimtardif, do you do the permits?
We do all of our own permits. We advise our clients to include that in the service that they purchase from us. And we charge $450 to process a permit, and we add on whatever the city fee is.
Okay, Matt Stein?
Yep, we handle all of our permitting in-house. That's actually a selling point for customers that have researched a sign project a little bit, and it's pretty daunting. So they're pretty pleased when they hear that we offer that, and we do charge for it. We charge $350.
Okay. Jack?
Depending on each state is a little bit differently on the contracting laws. We're going to go through that in training so you understand. In the beginning, the installer that you hire has a license, and you're going to have him process the permit. Then, so you're not waiting for him to do it, you'll go with him to learn how to do it yourself. So you take away that thing for him, and you can make that a profit center for yourself. Over time, you'll get your own contractor's license, and you'll do it completely on your own. So you'll go through several stages.
Okay. One question that wasn't asked real quick. What percent of your new business, not your repeat business, but what percent of your new business comes from the internet, and what percent comes from networking or people that you know? Pete Jackson?
I'd say 70% comes from the internet, and the other 30 is repeat or referrals.
Okay. But if you take out the repeat business, then it's a higher number yet. So you're looking at 70, 80, 90%.
Oh, from the internet? Yeah, I was going to say more from the internet because literally.
So new business, not your repeat business, but what percent of your new business comes from the internet?
Yeah, 80% at least. I'd
All right.
say.
Jimtardif?
80, right around 80.
80, and Matt Stein?
We're about 70.
Okay. All right, Jack, do you want to close it out?
Sure, I'd be glad to. Pete and Jim and Matt, we appreciate you being here, taking time out of your busy day to share. For those who have joined us, hope this has been helpful. Go back to Dan, Jean, Dan, or myself, and let's dig deeper. We'll have another one of these in 3 weeks from now, and our next Discovery Day will be Friday, April 8th. Hope you all had a great day and hope this helped. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.